You ever have a moment where the world just stops, where everything you thought you knew about courage, about justice, about what you do to protect the people you love, gets turned upside down? That's what happened to Sarah Jenkins, a civil rights lawyer in the small town of Fairview, Alabama, when she found herself tied to an old oak tree, wrists bleeding, heart pounding, staring into the eyes of men who wanted her gone for good. This is the story of how one phone call, one desperate whisper into the night, changed everything not just for her, but for a whole damn town. Fairview's the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, but nobody talks about the real stuff, the line that splits the town between the manicured lawns of the white folks and the cracked sidewalks where the black community makes do. That old Confederate statue on Main Street. It's been there forever, casting a shadow over the courthouse where justice is supposed to be blind. But let's be real, she's been peeking through that blindfold for years, picking favorites based on skin color. Sarah grew up on the wrong side of that line, but she clawed her way out, got herself to Yale Law, built a life in Atlanta where her kids, Mia and Noah, could walk to school without looking over their shoulders. She was 36, sharp as a tack, a mom who'd read bedtime stories to her kids one night and tear apart a crooked cop's lies in court the next. But Fairview kept pulling her back, like a ghost that wouldn't let go. See, 10 years ago, her cousin Jamal got shot by a deputy named Carl Ramsey while walking home from a gas station job, hands up, pleading, the whole thing caught on dashcam. Sarah watched that video until her eyes burned, each frame cutting deeper than the last. She came back to Fairview, traded her big city salary for a tiny office above a bait shop, and started fighting for folks who had no one else. Her husband, Ethan, folks called him Shade, from his Army Ranger days, followed her without a second thought. They'd met in a VA support group, her helping a friend, him trying to outrun the things he'd seen in Iraq. Ethan was the kind of guy who could slip into a room without a sound, finish a mission nobody else could, but Sarah taught him there was more to life than ghosts and guns. Together, they raised Mia, 9, already asking why some kids at school wouldn't play with her, and Noah, 7, still young enough to think the world played fair. The trouble started with a kid named Trey Carter, 16, captain of the debate team, gunned down by Ramsey, same deputy, same story. Dashcam showed Trey begging, "I'm just going home, sir," before Ramsey fired 4 shots. The Carters came to Sarah, their eyes hollow, their hope gone, and she couldn't say no. She took the case, knowing it had put a target on her back. Fairview's mayor, Ed Calhoun, ran the town like his personal kingdom. $180 million budget, cops in his pocket, judges who owed him their robes. He preached law and order, but everybody knew that meant keeping things the way they'd always been. His real game was skimming city contracts for his cousin's construction firm, funneling cash to his daughter's fancy college fund, and stirring up enough racial tension to keep folks too busy fighting each other to notice his hands in the till. Sarah's wins in court were starting to make people whisper, starting to make the feds curious, and Calhoun couldn't have that. The trial was a bloodbath. Sarah shredded Ramsey's story, showed the jury a scared kid with his hands up, and won. Trey's family got $2.5 million, Ramsey got 12 years, and Calhoun had to step down as sheriff, his side gig. For one moment, Fairview's black community thought maybe, just maybe, things could change. But hope's a fragile thing in a town like that. By morning, death threats were scrawled on Sarah's office door, ugly words dripping like venom. Ethan wanted to pack up, get the kids to Birmingham, start over. But Sarah stood in their kitchen, watching Mia and Noah chase fireflies in the yard they'd fought to afford, and said, "If we run, they win. Every family who can't leave, every kid who walks these streets, they're counting on us." Ethan knew that look in her eyes. He'd seen it in soldiers who'd rather die than retreat. The isolation hit hard. Clients bailed, friends ghosted. Even the black community started whispering Sarah was stirring up trouble, putting them all at risk. Reverend Davis, who'd baptized her, pulled her aside after church, voice low, "You've done good, but you're making it hard for us to live here." It broke her heart, but she kept going, sitting alone in her office, wondering if she'd changed anything or just ripped open old wounds. Calhoun, meanwhile, watched from his fancy office, smirking as the protests grew, signs calling Sarah a troublemaker, an outsider. He had bigger problems, though the feds were sniffing around his books, getting too close to the $40 million his cousin's company had siphoned off. Sarah's case was the spark that could burn his whole empire down. So he made a call to Tommy Bear Hargrove, a 6 feet 5 inches wall of hate with a rap sheet and a swastika tattoo. In a dive bar that didn't exist on any map, Calhoun slid him an envelope stuffed with cash. "Make it look like a robbery gone wrong," he said, voice smooth as whiskey. "Nothing comes back to me." Sarah got a call to speak at an NAACP gala in Mobile 2 hours away, a chance to tell her story to people who'd get it. Ethan pushed her to go, said she needed a win. Driving back that night, she saw a pickup truck with its hazards on, blocking the road. Her mama raised her to help folks in trouble, so she pulled over, grabbed her phone to call Ethan. That's when the taser hit 50,000 volts, dropping her like a stone. Bear and his crew dragged her to a clearing, chained her to an oak tree older than the town itself, its bark scarred from ropes that had held others like her a century ago. Bear grinned, testing the chains. "This tree's seen your kind before, never learns, do ya?" Sarah's wrists bled, but her spirit didn't break. Her Apple Watch, miraculously still working, let her whisper one call to Ethan. "I'm at the old oak." Bear's guys hurry. The screen cracked as Bear smashed it, but the message got through. Ethan was at home, kids asleep, when his phone buzzed. Sarah's voice, scared but steady, flipped a switch in him. The man who coached Little League, who tucked Mia in with a kiss, was gone. Shade was back, the ranger who'd hunted in shadows. He opened a safe Sarah didn't know about, pulled out gear he'd sworn he'd never touch again, and made 3 calls. First to Rico Alvarez, an explosives guy nursing a whiskey in Mobile, who dropped everything and floored it to Fairview. Second to Nate Hawk Turner, a sniper teaching wilderness survival in Tennessee, already packing his rifle. Third to Kim Park, a hacker in Raleigh who could crack any system. By the time Ethan hung up, Kim had pinged Sarah's watch to the oak tree, killed Fairview's 911 lines, and dug up Calhoun's dirtiest secrets bank accounts, bribes, even texts to Bear about handling Sarah. The team hit the forest like a storm. Hawk set up 600 yards out, his scope locked on Sarah, blood dripping down her arms. Rico slipped through the trees, planting flashbangs to spook Bear's crew. Kim jammed their radios, feeding them fake chatter about feds closing in. Ethan moved like a ghost, eyes on Sarah, who stared down Bear with fire in her eyes despite the pain. Bear held a knife to her throat, snarling. One move, and she's done. Ethan stepped into the moonlight, voice cold as steel. "You're already dead, Bear. You just don't know it." Hawk's laser dots danced on Bear's chest, his forehead lower. 3 shots, 3 seconds, Ethan said, calm as if ordering coffee. "Drop the knife, or you're a memory." Bear laughed, nervous. "You're bluffing, city boy." Ethan just nodded. "Hawk, show him." A shot took Bear's earlobe clean off. He screamed, knife falling, and Ethan was on him, zip-tying his hands while Rico's flashbangs lit up the night, sending Bear's goons running into Hawk's non-lethal shots, knees and shoulders, enough to drop them. Sarah collapsed, chains cut, Ethan catching her before she hit the dirt. She looked at him, face bruised but fierce. "You came." He held her tight. "Always." She saw Bear's knife, grabbed it, crawled toward him, her voice raw. "You wanted to hang me like they did back then, didn't you?" Ethan didn't stop her, just said, "You're better than him, Sarah. Always have been." She stared at Bear, whimpering in the dirt, then dropped the knife, whispering, "Get me home. Mia and Noah need me." While Rico got Sarah to a makeshift med station, Kim's hack hit the feds like a tsunami. Calhoun's bank records, texts, even photos tying him to a cartel money laundering scheme. By morning, 30 agents stormed his charity gala, cuffing him mid-speech about family values. His own son, Caleb, 24, fed up with his dad's lies, had been leaking files to Sarah for weeks, sitting in his car outside, streaming the arrest to X. "This is for Mom," he posted, and every family he broke. Fairview woke up to a new reality. The black community filled Sarah's hospital room with flowers and prayers, Reverend Davis crying. "You stood when we hit. Forgive us." Sarah squeezed his hand. "We're stronger together, Reverend." The town split open. Crooked cops and councilmen fled, but others stepped up. The hardware store owner admitted paying Calhoun's protection racket for years, testifying to save his soul. The Confederate statue got vandalized one night, and the council voted to replace it with a park for Trey Carter. Calhoun got 20 years. His network collapsed, sparking raids across Alabama. Sarah's scars never faded, but she turned her office into a civil rights hub, training lawyers like Caleb, who took his mom's maiden name, Ellis, to honor her memory. The oak tree? It's a garden now. Kids playing where blood once fell, a plaque reading, "For all who suffered, for all who will be free." Sarah and Ethan kept fighting, answering calls from towns like Selma, where the same old story corrupt sheriffs, scared families needed their fire. Over dinner, Noah asked, "Mom, will bad people always be around?" Sarah smiled, holding his hand. "Maybe, but so will the good ones, and every time we stand up, we show others they can too." Mia chimed in, "Then we keep fighting, right? Till everyone's safe." Sarah nodded, her heart full. "So, here's the thing, what would you do if you got that call? If someone you loved was chained to a tree, literal or not, by a system that's been breaking people for years? Would you fight, run, or look the other way? Drop a comment. Tell me your take. What's justice look like to you? Share this if it hit you, if it made you think about the fights still out there. Because Sarah's story, it's not just hers, it's every town, every family, every one of us who decides to answer the call.